caffeine!
I'll walk you through the various steps to make a sound box, similar to the one that you can see on your screen. If we try this out, so you have a demonstration of how it works, simply press the button and it plays a sound. And then to exit the app, simply press the exit button and it closes down. So I'm going to show you how to make that app, and then you can take the code and develop your own version with more buttons, your own sound effects, and create your own soundboard. So the first thing to do is to ensure that you have Python installed. If you haven't got Python, then head over to python.org, download the latest Python version for your device or computer. Next up, we're using a program or Python add-in called guizero, and again you will need to download this first before you can access the features of the code, such as the sound, the buttons, adding a picture, changing the backgrounds. The whole book is about GUIs, graphical user interfaces, and this is where you can download the latest version and install it, so you will need to do that. If you're on a Windows computer, then you already have something called WinSound installed, which allows you to access the software and the interfaces that control sound on a Windows computer. Again, if you want to find out any more details, or if you are using a Linux or a Mac, then you can read some more details about this here. So at this point, I'm assuming that you have Python installed, you have guizero installed, and you also have WinSound. If you haven't, pause the video, install those, and then obviously come back. So the first thing we're going to do is create a folder to hold the program files. So I'm going to do this on my desktop, and I'm going to call it soundboard. Now, in the soundboard folder, I need to first of all collect some sounds. The sound formats that the guizero will play are WAV files. And there's quite a useful website, it's called wavsource.com. And on here are various sound files in the form of WAV. And if I show you how to access them, we can go to television. Here's some Batman ones, and you literally click on it.
Boys and girls, go back to your studies. Believe me.
It will play. We can save these audio files into the folder we've just created. So I'm just going to download
Tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.
so
Holy caffeine!
okay, so I've downloaded four sound files from this website, and they are now stored in the okay, they should be stored in the soundboard folder. If they're not, they're probably in your downloads. So just take them out, copy them across into your folder. Okay. So double check they are definitely WAV files. Zoom in a little bit on that. Okay. And what I also recommend you do is that you change the name, because when we create the code, what we're going to have to do is write the name of the file, the audio file, into the code. And this could take some time if we have to write something like Holy Caffeine or Batman theme. And also, if you look at this example here, we've got Batman underscore theme underscore X, which just leads us potentially to creating an error. So it's good practice for this one anyway, so just call it something simple. So I'm going to call them S1 for sound 1. I'm going to call this one S2. And so on and so on. You don't have to do this, but I think it just makes it a little bit easier when you come to write the code. I've got a flying past there. Okay. So nothing particularly complicated there. All I've done is just basically said, okay, here's the 4 sound files I'm going to use, audio files that I'm going to use, and I am going to call them S1, S2, S3, S4. Next thing we're going to do is collect a picture. So we're going to go back to the internet, and images need to be GIFs. So type in Batman GIF. Obviously, if you don't want to do a Batman themed soundboard, that's absolutely fine. Download the file, download the image into the same folder. Okay, I've actually already got this, so I'm going to move it across from here. Okay. So before we start thinking about making the code, we have 4 sounds. We also have a GIF, an image of the bat logo, which we're then going to add into our program. Right, let's make the program then. So we're going to head over to Python, and we're going to start a new file. And we're going to save it into the soundboard folder. So mine is on my desktop. Soundboard. I'm just going to call it Bat Sounds. Okay, first thing we need to do is to import the various modules that are going to allow us to create the GUI. So we start off with from guizero, and we need to import the following modules. I'm just going to double check these. We've got app, box, picture, push button. Note the capital B on the button, and finally text. Just to quickly talk you through these, text is pretty self-explanatory. It displays text. Push button again is fairly simple. It displays a button. Picture allows us to display a picture. Box creates a box within the GUI, so we can organize the elements, in this case the buttons and the picture. An app is the main feature that allows us to create the actual overall GUI. So the first thing we do is import those. I'm just going to save this now. Next thing I'm going to do is create a function which is going to play the sound. So we define the function, and I'm going to call this sound1. And then I'm going to use winSound, and then play sound. And then just checking my file names, we're going to call it, I think it was B1. Oh, S1. So it's S1. .wav, comma, and then we need to put wind sound, and just double checking this, all capital letters, SND underscore ASYNC. Okay, so what we've done here is we've created a function that is called sound1, and what sound1 does is when it's called, when the function is called, it will play this audio file using the command here. Okay, save that again. So the next part is to create the actual app, or the GUI, which the buttons and the sound will sit within. So what I'm going to do is build this up in stages. I think we will create the basic outline of the app, and then we'll add a button so you can see that the button's working, and then we'll add some more features to the app in order to create a more fresh looking, interesting looking app. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is app lowercase equals app, and then we're going to name the name of the app, and this appears in the top left hand corner, so I'm going to call it Batman Soundboard. And then we need to set the height and the width of the GUI. And this is in pixels, so the height is going to be set to 400, and then I believe I set the height to, sorry, the width to 350. Now if you're using a large picture, you might want to make these bigger. If you've got a smaller screen, you might want to make them smaller. It's entirely up to you. At this point we can actually test that this is working. We need to just go app.display, open bracket, close bracket, and this line of code actually ends at the, sorry, this line of code appears at the very end of our program, and it actually initializes this here. So what we should be able to do is create from this, if we save it and then run it, we should be able to create our basic GUI window. Okay, so Batman Soundboard, here's the size, 400 by 350. Obviously the function is there, but it's not available because we haven't assigned the function to a button yet, and we haven't had any colors or any text in. So that's working so far. What we want to do next then is add a button and make sure that this function is working. Normally you'd obviously build up the colours, the background, add the text in, etc. But because we're doing this as live coding, it's good to make sure that we iron out any issues with the sound. So we're going to go back to the program code, and under the same app section we are going to create a button, and this button is going to call or trigger the function to run, and when the function runs it will run this line of code here. So I'm going to name the button, and this is just going to be button 1, and it's going to be equal to the push button, which you'll notice we imported here at the beginning. So we're creating the push button, and we then tell it which command to run. So it's basically, instead of calling it a function, we're calling it a command here. So run sound1, and then obviously you want to add some text to the button. So something like, I don't actually know what sound1 is, so we'll just call it theme or something like that. This is the challenge with not labeling, sorry, this is the challenge with numbering your files 1 or 2 or whatever. Obviously saves you time here, but by the time we get to here we've forgotten what the sound is. Okay, so let's see if that works now. Run. Okay. Push button, missing the position. Okay, so I'm missing the position. Let's see. Oh yes, I haven't told it where I want it. Okay, so I need to say whereabouts I want the push button. So I want the push button within the app, Just checking that, yes. So the app is the main GUI window. Where does the button appear? It appears in the app. The command it runs is this command here, and the text I want it to display on the app is theme. Let's try that now. Okay, so it's appeared at the top. If I press this, didn't import wind sound. Okay, that was not very good. But we do need to go back to the module section at the front and import wind sound. Schoolboy error there. Let's try it now. Play sound, have I potentially spelt that incorrectly? Let's have a look. Yes, so play sound needs to be, where are we? Play sound needs to be capital S. This is one of the things that you will notice when you, if you're new to coding or a beginner, is that you have to be aware of the syntax. A lot of programming languages don't follow what we would consider normal grammar of a language. Play sound's got a capital S in the middle of it. You wouldn't normally expect a capital letter in the middle of a word, but this is the programming requirement, so we need to ensure that we add it. Okay, let's run it. Here we go. Okay, another thing, I put wind sound. That wasn't very good either, so we're going to go back to the code. Wind sound. Not wind sound, wind sound. Here we go. I haven't actually got my headphones on, so let's have a quick listen. Okay, nothing played. So we're just going to check that I've got the right file name. And in fact, if I go back to the code, I think I've spotted the error is that should be a dot. Okay. That's the name of the file. Should be okay now.
Boys and girls, go back to your studies. Believe me, nothing in life is free.
Nothing in life is free. Okay, it worked.
Boys and girls, go back to your studies. Believe me, nothing in life is free.
Excellent. All right. Let's just try and change that to free, because that's obviously the features of it. Brilliant. So as you can see, when you're coding, obviously be aware of small errors, syntax errors, time changes, etc. Spaces, capital letters, etc. Spelling it incorrectly, wind sound, not wind sound, can change the whole of the program and stop it working. Anyway, on a positive note, we now have a function for the sound. We have an app which creates this GUI page here, or window. We then have a button which we've created. It's got some text on it. Just rerun that again. We should get a new one. And we also have the button working and playing the sound. So the next thing we're going to do is change the background color. So in here, we're going to use the program code app.bg, which is short for background, equals. I'm just going to simply write in the color that I want. So in this example, this version, I'm going to do a yellow background. And now we have a yellow background. I'm just going to close that because it's quite distracting, that background there. Okay, let's run it again. That's a bit better. Get rid of all the errors. Right. Next thing we're going to do on my list is we're going to add the title in. So first of all, I need to create a variable, and I'm going to call this title text, just so I know that it's the title text. The titles obviously go at the top, and this is going to use the text widget. So text, which we imported here, open bracket, and then I need to put in where I want it to display the text. So I display it in the app, and then what text I want it to display. So I'm going to put Batman sounds. So you'll notice that these imports here, we're starting to use them. So app has obviously allowed us to create the window. Box we haven't used yet. Picture we haven't used yet. Push button has allowed us to create this push button here. And text is now allowing us or enabling us to add a title. Okay. Now you might say that the text is tightly too small, so I'm going to change that. I already have the font. Sorry, I already had the variable name here, so I'm going to use that again. Title underscore text, and then dot text size underscore size equal, and then set it to a suitable size for your GUI window. Mine's 28, yes. So title text is the variable that holds this information, and now I'm saying is set that information in there, or that string in there, set it to this size here. Again, we can run this. Maybe slightly too big, that. So you've got an option here. You can, if you think it's too big, you can obviously drop down the size of the font, or you can increase the size here of the height and the width. I think I'm actually going to make mine width slightly wider. Here we go. Very good. Next feature I'm going to add in is a picture, and this is the picture that we stored in the folder earlier at the start of the video. Again, I create a variable to hold the information. I'm just going to call it logo. You can call it picture, you can call it image, it's up to you. In fact, I probably wouldn't call it picture because picture is one of the modules, so try and avoid that. Use something like logo, image. That's absolutely fine. The logo is equal to then the picture module, which we've obviously pulled in here, and we then tell it where to store or show the picture. We want to show the picture in the app, and then we need to say what the image is called. So the image, I think I called bat. So image equals bat.gif, and then we close the brackets. Run that. Brilliant. If the image is too big, you can obviously cut it down using a image editing software to ensure that it fits. And obviously you can change the background color to match. At the moment, I'm just an example one here for you. I'm not too worried that it's slightly different color. Let's recap then. So each of these features here uses one of these widgets at the top. So app is pulling on app. Picture is now allowing us to display the picture. The push button creates the push button. The text creates the text, and so on. We're now going to add then another button. But first of all, we're going to go up here. We're going to copy and paste this function in. And now I'm going to call this sound 2. And in here, I'm going to change this to sound number 2. So what I've got is the same function, but it's named something different so that I can then assign it to a different button. If I go back to my button code, copy it, paste it in, this time I'm going to change it to button 2, and when I press it, I want it to play sound 2. Or actually I want it to run the function called sound 2, which will play the sound wave 2. Now again, I can't remember what that is, what sound it's going to play, so I'm going to keep it as free at the moment. Press run, and then we have some options. So I'm going to put my headphones on.
girls, go back to your studies. Believe me, nothing in life is free.
So that's the first one, and the second one.
Holy caffeine!
That's the caffeine one. Okay. So I am going to make sure we know what that is. Again, you can name these and label these as you wish. We're now going to add in the third sound. So I go back here, I copy, paste. This is now going to be sound function number 3, playing sound number 3. Going back here, button 3, sound 3. Now again, I don't know what the sound is, so I'm going to play it in a minute. And it's good practice to, I would recommend it's good practice to create each one individually and test it. What you don't want to do is create 6 buttons and then they fail, they don't work, and then you're left having to check all of those codes. Create each one individually, check it after each run. So in my program code, I'm going to change that to theme. And so on. And the final one, here we go. Copy it, paste it. You've guessed it, 4, sound number 4. Copy this one, sound number 4. And I think this one is called the stinger. Don't forget to change that one to 4. Another reason for changing these is obviously, for me anyway, I mean, you can use the full name, but it begins to make a bit more sense because this is function 1 that plays sound number 1, and this is button 1, and button 1 runs function 1, which plays sound 1. So for me, it's a good way to keep the continuity and keep track of the buttons and what they're doing. Let's run it again.
Tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.
Okay, so that's a different theme. You also notice here we've got the gap here. We can drag it out, but I'll show you how to solve that in a minute. Let's go back here. That was called Sia or something like that. CU. Brilliant. Okay, so we've got the main features here set up. We've got sound, we've got buttons, we've got the text, we've got the logo. What you'll notice now is, first of all, that the items are stacked, and guizero creates or displays the items in the order they appear. So you'll notice the first thing is obviously the background. Well, the background covers the whole of that window, so that can go anywhere really. But when we come to the title text, it says Batman Sounds, and that arrives at the top, and then we have the size, then we have the logo, then we have the buttons. So if I, for example, moved this down here, what will happen is it will appear underneath. What did I do there? Oh, it's because I'm trying to set the size of it. Probably wasn't the best example, that. Let's try again. Right, let's do it with the picture. If I put the picture at the top. Okay, so the picture then appears above the text. Now, this is all right, but it's not really what we want to do, because we want to be able to control where the different features go and the different elements of the GUI go. And especially with these buttons, it's a bit of a waste of space to not use the left and the right. This is where the box comes in. So the box module allows us to create a kind of secondary box within the GUI window. So I sometimes like to refer to it as a container. And then what we can do is, rather than saying that the buttons are in the app window, we can then place the buttons in the box container or the box window. And we can also set the location of them using grid references. So this is what we're going to do now. Save your program, and we will add in the box feature. So here we go. Where the buttons are, we're going to space it down a bit, and we're going to create the box. So to do this, I'm going to type in box equals box with a capital letter, which pulls out this module. You then have to say where you want the box to appear. Now the box is going to be here, but it's still within the app window. So the first thing is to say it's going to appear in the app window. We then set the height. And when we set the height this time, we need to use quotes, double quotes. We don't want to be 400 by 360 because that will be the full size of that. So we're going to set it to 200. And then the width, we're going to set to double check 400. So the height will be, if this is, if the height here of the GUI window is 400 and the box is 200, then it's going to be approximately the height, half the height, and obviously you want the full width. The next thing we do is we say that the layout we're going to use, I've forgotten the quotes, there they go. The layout we're going to use is the grid layout. So equals, and again we put this in quotes like that. I should have said earlier, it doesn't matter about the spacing. We can remove the space if we want to. The program still works. I'm just adding this so that you can, I'm adding the spacing in so that it makes it a little bit easier to see. Okay. Now what we need to do is just checking, we need to assign the buttons to the box. Okay, at the moment the buttons appear in the app, but we need to put them in the box. So what I'm going to do here is write box for each of these. This has the advantage of not stacking them. Okay, because obviously these are stacked in order. What's going to happen is they're all going to be put in the box here. The last thing we need to do is we need to set the grid reference. Now the grid reference is, if you imagine we divided up this container into blocks, whereabouts in the blocks does that appear? So the code for this is grid equals open bracket 0, 0. Square bracket closed. Make sure that's a comma. I didn't do a comma there. Okay. So 0 and 0 refer to the x and y coordinates. So x goes on the bottom and then y goes on the top. So what we're saying is go along the bottom till you get to 0 and then go up until you hit 0. Now in computing, 0, 0 is at the top left here. So our first button is going to appear at the top left here. We then need to add the grids in for the next button. So we're going to comma that. This time we want to drop x, we want to go x1 across. So if x0 is here, we want it to then move 1 across. I'll just show you this now. You can see how it's starting to look. Okay, so can you see x is the first one, and then this is the next one along. So this is, rather than being stacked, it's now next to it. It's come up with an error because the other boxes we haven't, or I haven't said where the grid is. So I'm going to copy that, comma, grid, and this one we're going to go to 2 because we're on the same line, and same thing on the last one. Now you might have noticed that this ends on 3, and obviously we've got 4 buttons, so you'd expect this to be position 4, but in program, we always start from 0. So 0 is actually button 1, 1 is button 2, button 3 is 2, and so on. So what we've now done is we've said, take button 1, put it in the box, which is this bit here, and align it 0, 0, and then move this one 1, 0, and then 2, 0, and 3, 0. So what we should get is all the buttons are lined up across. If I've done something right, I'll keep putting keep putting full stops in or periods in. There we go. Now we know the sounds work.
Tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.
Now you may add extra buttons yourself, so you might have 6 buttons or 8 or 12 and so on. So what I'll show you now before we move on to the last part of the code is how to arrange the buttons so they're underneath each other. So you remember that this is this is line 0. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to move it down 1 line. So we're going to put in line 1, which is actually underneath that. So this is line 0. This is now going to be line 1. And we want to start at the beginning of line 1, so we're going to put in 0. And we want the next button to be the next position along, and the position after 0 is 1. Excuse me. So the position after 0 is the first position. So we're going to run that, and what we now get is the buttons underneath each other. So if you do add extra buttons in, you can change around the code so that they fit. I'm just going to go back to how they work because I preferred them in a line. Excellent. Let's just run that. Here we go. Okay, so the last feature then is to add in an exit button so we can close the soundboard. And again, you've probably worked out this uses a button. I'm going to call it close button. So this is a variable to hold the information about the close button. It uses the push button function, which we've got up here. So push button. Don't forget the capitalization. Where is the push button, or where is this close button going to be? It's going to be in the box. Okay. What is the command we want it to run? We want it to run exit. Want it to run the exit command. You'll notice there it's already come up in a different color. We don't have to write a function for that. It's already built in. We then need to add the text to the button. So I'm going to call it close. You can call it exit or leave or something like that. Now you need to tell it where you want it in the grid. So where is this button going to appear in the grid? So I want it on the next line down. So here we go. Open bracket. Oh, open bracket. I'm going to go 0, 1 because I want it on the line 1 underneath the other buttons. Just going to do that like that. You don't have to have the space in there, that's just literally there so you can see the distinction. So close the button, it's in using push button to create a button, place it in the box, add the exit command which will close down the close down the GUI, sorry. Text on the button is close, tell it where to put it. Let's run that. Okay, so maybe I might want to move it slightly further across. Let's have a look. So maybe let's go something like, let's try that. Problem is that the we've got an odd number here, so I'm not going to find the middle of it. But you get the idea. There's the close button. If I was doing this, I would probably have 3 buttons there, 2 and maybe 1, but it's fine. What does it do? It closes the app. So press close, are you sure you want to kill your program? Okay. And then it closes it. Code's still there, but we've got that. The last thing we're going to do is obviously that button. If I just run that again, that button is the same color as the themes or as the sound buttons. And what could happen is you could end up risking that you press this button thinking it's a sound button, and it's not. And to be honest, actually, these names here, close, could be related to a sound. So it's a little bit confusing. Two things I'm going to do then. I am going to say exit. In fact, I'm going to put exit app. And then I'm going to also change the background. So close button. And I'm changing the background of the button here. And it's the same code that we used here. App background is yellow. Close button.bg is background. That equals red. Brilliant.
Tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.
Holy caffeine!
Actually, we could have them all on the same line, couldn't we? That might look neat. The grid references is really down to two things. Number one, the length of the text you've used, and also your own personal preference about how you want it to be laid out.
Boys and girls, go back. Tomorrow, same.
So I hope you have enjoyed that live coding session, and gives you a kind of overview, introduction to guizero and some of the features that you can use. Before we end this session, just to say that you can obviously copy and paste these down, copy and paste the code in, and then you've created more buttons, and you can change the background color, you can change the images obviously by changing the file in there. Thanks very much for your time.